Hi everyone, I'm Sarah and this is my BookTube YouTube channel. I am new to the BookTube world. I had never even heard of it until a couple of days ago when I started to research it a little bit. I had this idea to start a new channel because I already have another channel, but it's mostly about adventure travel. That's kind of my shtick, and I have an adventure travel website, and I'm a writer and all sorts of stuff. I'll talk about that later. But I am also a very big reader, and I came up with this idea one day of why don't I just do some videos of the summaries of the books that I read. And I was like, I'll make a YouTube channel of that, and I bet there's probably nothing out there like that, which I was wrong. Of course, I mean, YouTube just has anything you could think of. And so once I actually started looking at it, I ended up finding this whole BookTube universe and quickly learned that people have been doing this for years and I am late to the game. But I still want to do this channel just because I read a very wide range of books and I'm not sure what other booktubers read, but I'm betting that most people probably don't read the kind of books that I do, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But I just wanted to give a little background. So I feel like I've always been a big reader. I grew up in the library because my mom volunteered every Tuesday night at our local library and all the years that I was growing up. So I was always at the library, usually on Tuesday nights with her, and always was reading either for school or for the summer. I think like most people, there are probably some phases where I dropped out of reading as much. And then I think it was probably junior year of high school, I took a classical literature class because I'd always kind of been interested in classics, and that kind of sparked a new fervor of reading all the classics. Then I kind of phased out of classics for a while and started reading more like biographies because I started really getting into adventure, and so I started reading biographies of adventurers. And that I still read a lot of books like that. And then fast forward some more until I went to grad school for sustainable communities. And the books that I started reading there, mostly about social and environmental justice issues, grassroots organizing kind of books. And that's kind of what I still read today. Is I really try to educate myself a lot on all the issues going on, which there's so many. So I'm reading a lot about like climate change and criminal justice issues and feminism and Black feminism and just all sorts of books in that realm. But I also still like my classics. I still like the biographies, the adventure novels, and then occasionally some modern fiction. But those are probably the most kinds of books that I read. So not sure if that's what other booktubers are doing. I haven't done too much of a deep dive in that world yet. But so another story, which as you can tell, I'm a big storyteller. That's why I am an aspiring writer. I've been writing for years on my personal website, which used to be a blog. When I started traveling away from home, I started this blog so I could share my photos with my family. And then that just kind of progressed through the more adventures that I did, and I finally decided in 2018 that I needed to up my game and get a legit website, and so that's what I did, and it's whereintheworldissarah.com. So that's my main website, but I feel like it really encompasses a lot of my passions, like sustainability and adventure and budget travel and reading and thrifting. So I really am interested in all of that, and so that's what my website is about. But where was I? I lost my train of thought. So aspiring writer. So I've been writing on my website for years, doing blogs, and try to do a few articles for some magazines here and there. I write fairly regularly for a backpacking website, and I have been recently writing my book, a memoir of short adventure stories. So I actually started it before the pandemic and stopped for about 9 months during the pandemic because I just wasn't inspired to write, and then finally started picking it up again. But that's what I'm really interested in, is writing, and I've always wanted to be an author and publish a book, so that's the end goal, the end game. So we'll see what happens with that. But back to reading. So like I'm sure many of y'all, did book reports in school, and then when I started reading classical literature, I decided that I wanted to start writing like a quick paragraph summary of the book, kind of my own version of Cliff Notes, and so I could go back to it and read the quick summary, see the characters' names and the plot line, basically, because I read so much and you tend to forget the storylines. And so I thought that that would be helpful, even though I never went back to read any of these summaries. But I kept them as Word docs and printed them out, put them in the books. And then eventually it kind of phased out and I stopped doing that. And then in my website, which I started doing like a page on there called Currently Reading, where I would list the books that I'm reading for the year. And I started a spreadsheet, listing all the books, because like I said, I forget sometimes the books that I read, and which one time I actually read the same book twice because I had forgot that I had read it. And it wasn't like a favorite book or anything. And I was like, man, I wasted that time reading that book again. But I still couldn't tell you what it's about, which is probably not a good thing. But so once I started that page on my website of Currently Reading, the past couple of years, then I started doing like this 1-sentence line review of the book, if I liked it and basically what it was about. And then last year that sentence became a couple sentences, and then depending on the book, sometimes I would devote a whole paragraph or a whole post just for that book if it really inspired me. And so that's the genesis of this idea for this YouTube channel, was why don't I just make videos of the reviewing, summarizing the books that I'm reading. And, maybe no one would be interested. Nobody's going to watch these, but who cares? I'm going to do it anyway, and we'll see how it goes. So some of my future videos, I'm going to obviously be doing summaries of the books that I read, but I also, want to, like I said, show the books and how I organize them. I see a lot of people do these book hauls, so I might do something like that in the future. But I'm also a major advocate for this book swapping website called paperbackswap.com. And I actually already made a video for that on my other channel, which I'll link to that video below. So I'm not going to go into that entirely, but I actually just got this book in the mail today, so I'm just going to open it. And it was from paperbackswap.com. So let me just open that real quick. So just go watch that. So pause me, go watch that video real quick to get an idea of what paperbackswap.com is if you've never heard of it, and then come back to this video. So this is the book I got in the mail today. So it is The Doors of Perception, Heaven and Hell by Huxley, which you might recognize that author's name because he wrote Brave New World, which I planted right behind me. It usually sits in the bookcase over here. So let me grab that. So this is his other book. And just to give you an example of the summaries I wrote one for this. And I couldn't tell you what this is about because I read it so long ago. So as you can see, I printed this summary out because this is what I wrote back in the day. Set in London in a future world. People are mass-produced and kept in bottles, predestined to a certain class, conditioned when they sleep by sayings under their pillow, etc., etc. Maybe that'll be another summary later this year. So let me put that back in here. So like I said, I don't have these little summaries in all the books, but for some that I did do. So I mean, I probably read that like 15 years ago. So let's see, what else? I'm really just kind of interested in, you know, getting involved in this BookTube community and seeing what other folks are doing out there to inspire me. And hopefully, you know, I'll inspire other people to read the books that I'm reading. Because I think that's what a lot of people do, right? Is people always want a good recommendation. And I am always, you know, interested in recommendations, but I feel like I need to like halt on that because I just have such a long list. I mean, I've got 3 bookcases in my room, like floor to ceiling, and I still have, you know, dozens of books that I haven't gotten to read yet, and I have a wish list of books that's like about 200, which I'll link that wish list below and maybe talk about in a future video. But I feel like I don't need any recommendations anytime soon because I just have too many books to read. Like, it almost gives me anxiety to think of all the books that I need to read and want to read, and that I don't have enough time to do that. I don't have enough time in my life to read all the books that I want, and that's sad. Because I also, you know, want to go out and do cool stuff. So I hope that y'all will follow along and subscribe to my channel and watch my videos and read the books that I read, and we can chat about it and hopefully inspire some folks to read the books that I'm reading, and we'll see how it goes. So thanks for watching and keep reading.